Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela, everybody. I see Preliminal's been in and chatting, and I wanted to comment on some of the statements there. You're talking about Moneybags 73, and I agree that for me he was Moneybags 76. And I'm not 100% on the eye change, but I do kind of remember him as brown eyes, and then he got the light eyes. I do think that that's probably a change, but that's not one I could swear on. I know he was 76, though, and a lot of people remember that. Also, a lot of his videos have changed for me. The 76 version of him was not into the esoteric stuff until he kind of got whopped upside the head with the Mandela. So he didn't have any other real esoteric knowledge other than Mandela stuff that he was learning as he was going. But now, if you look at his old videos, he knows all this esoteric stuff. So it's definitely a different version of him. But his personality seems to be about the same, as best I can tell. The only thing I would say is he's more into the esoteric. But, you know, the way he behaves and stuff pretty much is the same otherwise. He was more kind of just like a money guy before. He just knew the. It kind of reminds me of my old timeline, that old version of him, where people were just more, you know, like skeptical about the esoteric. It's not that I would say I didn't believe in it at all, but it was just, you know, the esoteric is much more accepted in the current timeline, let's just say. Okay, there's a couple. Oh, Vanessa VA. I did not know that she changed to have two N's. It looks like Preliminal saying it's Vanessa with two N's. VA. Yeah, she was just one N. The normal spelling from my old timeline was one N. So yeah, that's interesting. I haven't really checked out her channel in a while. Kinder Humbler EYA chat. I do notice she's a lot more hard edged in recent years. I didn't really know if that was like a shift or she just kind of saw too much, you know, so I couldn't really, you know, saw too much, like it's just too hard on her to keep seeing these things. So I couldn't really comment on that one. But she did seem more, I don't know, less angry and upset in the earlier ones. And I haven't gone back and watched the old ones, so yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't know on that one if she changed conventionally or shifty style. There was a couple other things. Oh, you said I'm about the same. It seems like it. One person said that they thought that I talked less, like I'm on the retcon, and they said I didn't talk a lot then. And I thought that was funny because I actually, in my memory, was more chatty on retcon for a long time. But you know, over the years, you kind of feel like you've said it all, and you're just repeating yourself. So I'm like that with every subject. I'm really into it for a few years, and then I kind of talk less and less. It's like, nah, I've been there, done that. So I felt like I was talking a lot less, but they thought I had gotten more chatty. And I've definitely had like months or something where I just had weird moods, and I'm even keel enough that you may not really notice it, but I've had these zones where I really wanted to swear a lot, and suddenly I found, you know, that I was always using the F word for everything, and then I was like, then I didn't, and then, you know, and the normal me doesn't really swear that much, but there's been these like weird zones where I would. Then there was this time where a number of people I was talking to was saying I had a weird accent, and they were trying to place it. And you know, I pretty much lived in California my whole life, Northern California, Southern California, so I don't know where that came from. But then they stopped saying it, so I don't know. There was also a time when I felt like I spoke suddenly in a less formal way, um, kind of more street slang style. I suddenly started talking like that, and that's kind of past, but not as much as I don't think. So I do think there's like weird, I don't know, winds of shift or something that blow through me, even that I am aware of in the way I speak. But yeah, mostly my personality is the same. So who else is in? Ronan the Voice, Michelle Fontaine. So anyway, you were covering a lot, and this kind of a slow Mandela week, so I figure I could already go ahead and chime in on those. I slept more than 12 hours and I'm so tired. Yeah, what was it today? I was pretty sleepy. A couple of days ago I was like wired, just so awake. I couldn't even sleep. It's been kind of a little weird. The B1 vitamins, aka thiamine, are still helping me a lot. Acetyl-L-carnitine, which is a form of carnitine, which is basically a vitamin, and taurine. Those three have been kind of saving my butt. But still, it takes the edge off a lot, but there's still certain days when I'm just tired. I'm just now less tired than I was before. Matrix effects in and Gainer kind of spaced out today. Sorry. Jumping ship. Trying to decide what I want to say next. Morpheus dreams of sleep. Linda Lava Lamp. Last week I read the chat again and wonder where most of my phrases did disappear. Yeah, I haven't touched it. If it doesn't get deleted when it's live, like that millisecond, and I don't remember any of those. And it's going to be people with the wrenches doing it, not me, because I just don't have time to keep up with things. Unless it's like really obvious and it's been a while since I've done any deleting. So if it doesn't get done while it's live, it's not going to get done, because I am certainly not going back. I don't even know if you can go back, actually, come to think of it. Sagittarius Arm Break. Yeah, I'm going to cover that one. It came from Retconned. Saw that one on Retconned. So anyway, welcome Shari, Love Matrix, Ann Gainer, Jonar Games, Ronan the Voice, Sweet 11. Looks like we have a lot of people again. DD74. It was like really slow there for a couple weeks. I don't know, everybody was like just Mandela Effects Watchdogs in. Even like my classes, I have an aerobics class, and there was like nobody there. Like 2/3 of the class was missing. That was last week. Slept a lot these 2 days. Yeah, was it like 3 days ago? 3-4 days ago, I was just wired that night. And then it's kind of dialed down. The link is down for giant statues. I'm not sure what that means. Days are very up, then unexpectedly down, and then I have to wait a while to feel normal. Yeah, it's been that way for a long time. The vitamins are taking the edge off, but it's definitely like I get better, and then I feel really good one day, but it doesn't last, and then it's like kind of a crash afterwards. It's like you build up and then you crash, and the crash happens at night. Like there's something that happens at night that sucks out my energy, and I think it's like some kind of REM sleep thing or something, because there's been a couple times when I kind of became conscious whilst dreaming, and I just like all these images were flashing through my head, and they were so rapid fire, like gajillion miles an hour. And I kind of became aware of how exhausting it was. Like it's like doing 10 math tests a night or something. It's just something that's really wearing me out. It just seems like that anyway. I mean, I really don't know, but that is kind of the impression I got of it. So I'm usually feeling pretty good when I go to bed. Sometimes I'm a little tired because it's been a long day, but then I wake up, I'm like out of it. It's like I slept, but it's like sleeping's worse than not sleeping almost. So I don't know. What the heck? Like I said, the vitamins are helping. B1's really good for brain function. Maybe I'm just frying my brain all the time. Preliminals got the same problems, tired and wired. Yeah, and it's at night usually when I get the most wired. So B-Vites help, Sweetheart 11. Yeah, B-Vites, like a multi-vite, but then the one that really helps is just like a whole bunch of B1. So at first I would get this huge rush when I took it, like suddenly my brain would wake up. But now I'm kind of leveled off at a constant level. So I don't feel the rush when I take them, but I'm definitely at a higher level than I was before. It's just like evened out. So I don't know why. So you can have yourself scanned and then you put you on the face of a giant statue. Oh, okay. So I then I'm not supposed to know about it. The fact is, first my phrases were in the chat, and later they were gone, but the answers to my phrases are still there. I don't know, because I don't remember seeing any, I don't remember seeing any of us do any deletions, but it could have been something that YouTube did. I've heard reports of things like that, especially if it had to do anything with the jib jab or, you know, those kind of things. They've gotten really weird about that. Love Matrix. I can't really talk about Mandela anymore. I don't see any new shifts. There's some, but I do think it's dialed. It's two things. I think it's dialed back some, and I think I'm a lot more jaded. Because, you know, I still, like, all the time I hear little changes in song lyrics, and I'm just like, every song has a change, and it's just not that shocking to me anymore, especially if they're small. Like, I just heard a song yesterday, and I can't even remember what it was because I didn't write it down, but there was, like, a whole new, like, 4 sentences in it that I've never heard. It's an old song. Suddenly, there's 4 whole new sentences in it. The whole rest was identical. So, you know, did someone go back and do 4 new sentences from a 30-year-old song? Probably not. My ribcage changed its smaller symmetry, circumference. Yeah. Strangely, Emmys don't bother me as much. I can accept them as normal now, if that makes sense. Joan Art games. Yeah, that's part of it. It's been, what, 5 years now? So I've kind of gotten used to it some. I mean, they still sometimes are like, no way, you know. And actually, the Milky Way one today was a little bit like that. But the kick, you know, the kick in the stomach is a little less, even on the big ones now. Recall had a good one last week with NATO, new headquarters in Norfolk, Virginia? I'm not sure on that one, actually. It's not my area enough. There's no real reason for this. I didn't write about medical or political measures. I don't know. You know, like, usually I can see if something's deleted and I'll kind of check it, and I don't remember seeing anything last week, so... So, you know, when I'm chatting away, I can't always check everything because it's just too hard to concentrate and then read everything. So I'm sorry if, I don't know. Just keep an eye on it, I guess, and maybe get some more data. Okay, so where we are is, this one was on Retcon, and it came from Will Work for Answers. I forgot to underline that on there. Who is the user name, Will Work for Answers. So Will Work for Answer found this one recently. 7 days ago, so this is new news. Milky Way has a 3,000 light year long splinter in its arm, and astronomers don't know why. The break contains hundreds of thousands of stars jabbing out of the galaxy's Sagittarius arm at a dramatic angle. So you might think that it's our old location at the outskirts, but no, it's actually right here near our current location. So here's the Milky Way, and we are there, and this is Orion Arm, or sometimes called the local arm in more recent shifts, and this is the Sagittarius arm, and this is the break, and so they've blown it up here. So us, Orion Arm, Sagittarius arm, and so they're saying that these... Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, it looks like it's back. Yes. Can you hear me now? Yay! Okay, it's back. All right. So I don't know what happened. Basically, I lost the internet somewhere while I was yapping away, and I went back to check the chat, and it hadn't budged, and it was frozen, and then I realized my internet was off. So I don't know where it kicked off, and then I couldn't get it back on, so I had to go upstairs and reboot the modem, whatever the heck they call that thing. And then I came back here and said my internet was on, but it still wasn't streaming. So I've rebooted the program that sends stream, and that seems to have done it. I don't know. There must have been a big something going on. I don't know what all that was. But, so what did I say last before I disappeared? Does anybody remember? Because unfortunately, I was yapping on for quite some time. About 8 minutes in. Do you remember what I said? Beginning of the Milky Way. What did I say about it? Like almost nothing? I don't, my computer's been fine for days. It ran stellar all day today. And then this happens, of course. Have you dyed your hair? Yeah, it's just, I dyed it like again. So it's bright for a while until the color washes out. It's not really supposed to be a washout color, but no color really stays in my hair. So you showed an appendix on the arm. Okay. I guess I'll have to go. Oh, you were just saying the first sentence about Orion. Almost nothing. Oh, great. It's never as fun saying it twice. Okay, so here we go. Somehow I've lost my whole stream of thought with all that. So the story is that Milky Way has 3,000-year-long splinter in its arm, and the astronomers don't know why. So what I was going to say is the splinter just happens to be really near us, which I find suspicious. And so this is us here, and this is the splinter, and then they blew it up to this big square. So you can see here, so there's Sagittarius, there's Orion, which is our arm. So I'm not really finding much info on us being on a spur anymore. Remember they used to say we're on the Orion spur. If you kind of remember, there used to be this kind of a spur that kind of went, there was the scattering, like a stream of stars that went from Sag to the Orion arm, and we were kind of on it, and so we were kind of like drifting away from the Sag arm, but we weren't quite on the Orion arm. That seems to have disappeared, and now this spiral arm and break in the arm is actually going the other way towards this scutum arm. So I think that the stars that we used to have are now like over here. So that's kind of a big Mandela for me, just because I know how it was. I was looking at it for years. They're calling it a splinter, also called a spur or feather. And I was saying that I do not remember this term splinter nor the term feather. I do remember a term spur in recent years that we were on, but now apparently we're not. It's kind of hard because everything now says something different, but I have not seen the word spur for us in a while. So they're saying like some kind of gravitational force apparently dragged these stars out of the normal alignment with the rest of the galaxy, and they don't know what. Woo woo, we have no idea. It's a grand mystery. Well, it wasn't even there before, so what the heck. Spur. Yeah, so we were, well, I remember, I'm not really clear on us being in Sagittarius, but everybody said we moved. And I wasn't really paying attention to that before the Mandela, but then we were definitely on the spur for when I first started looking at it about 5 years ago. And then they said spur or arm, and now it's just an arm, and now the spur is a splinter, and it's over somewhere else. So, typical Mandela business. So yeah, it was spur for a number of years for me, but I'm not seeing spur anymore. Okay, so just going to go on and look at some other stuff. So since that seemed different, and I don't know if I mentioned, but that was discovered by, Will Work for Answers on Retcon. So good find, good find. So then I'm like, well, let's just check out the rest of the galaxy. And so I bopped my way over to here. I don't need this one. And I'm like, this is our galaxy, but I've never seen far 3K PC arm. Have you ever heard of far 3K PC arm or near 3K PC arm? Is that kiloparsecs or something? I'm not sure what even that stands for. And here, now I do remember in recent years they said we're in a bar galaxy. I do not remember being in a bar galaxy originally, but in recent years they say that. But now we have long bar, and there's like a long skinny oval, and then we have galactic bar, which is, I don't know. So what the heck? So there's two things. Actually, I should look it up. Long bar versus galactic bar. And the reason I didn't look it up is because I just noticed it right now. I was so busy concentrating on the 3KPC business that I didn't notice the rest of it. The galactic long bar. Wait a minute now. There's a galactic bar and a long bar, and they have different ovals. But over here, they're just calling it the galactic long bar. That is not helping me. There's no info on the difference that's easily found anyway. Though, since we can't find it, that might be a beginning of a Mandela right there, the galactic bar and the long bar, because all I see is galactic long bar, like it's the same thing, but here it is clearly two different ovals, separately labeled. One's longer and skinnier, that's long bar, and one is shorter and fatter, and that's galactic bar. So definitely keep an eye on that one. Okay, far 3KPC arm and near 3KPC arm. What the bleep on that? Here's it again. So now I looked at the dates on some of these images, and they go back to like 2007 and earlier. Definitely was not here like even 5 years ago. I looked so many times at these. There was no KPC arms. And in recent years, I've been really trying to watch the arms because they got so shifty. So the other thing I wanted to say is, okay, so here's our sun. You'll notice that we've got this business here with the degrees. So I won't say they never measured them degrees, but I never ever saw them on the maps of the galaxy before. So it looks like it goes from sun to the center of the galaxy is 0 degrees, as you'll see up here. And then counterclockwise around 30, 60, 90. I've never seen that on the maps before, and now they're on like every map, even all the old maps. So that's another little change, getting a little bit more sophisticated. See, even here, even though they're not labeled, and even though the sun is up here now, very clearly on the Orion. They're not saying whether it's a spur or arm, conveniently, but very clearly on it. Again, there's a line straight down to the center of the galaxy, so that's all the degrees are mapped here. I'm just trying to get more of an idea of what's going on. There are not a lot of images like this right now of showing the arms and stuff. It used to be a lot easier to find. Okay, so in case you're thinking the KPC arm is new, according to this, Wikipedia, the FAR 3KPC arm was discovered in 2008 by astronomer Tom Dame. There's not really any super interesting info besides that, so I'm going to skip that. And then the near 3KPC arm on Wiki was discovered in 1950s by astronomer Van Woerden. So, yeah, no, they weren't even here like 4 years ago, these KPC arms. So don't know what's going on with that, but it's definitely new. So it's not labeled here, though. But I wanted to see again, they're calling it local arm here. I should look and see if there is an Orion spur anymore. But we don't really look like, see, there used to be like a spur between us and Sagittarius, and that's gone. And now it's down here. And it's that Splinter that will work for answers found. All right, now, hopefully all that got said and actually transmitted. The big Eva Freeze event. Yeah, you know, when I was a kid, they used to say that they were worried about the next ice age. And now that I've just been looking back on that and going, now we're on global warming. So the scientists were convincing us to be terrified of an ice age, and now we're supposed to be terrified of global warming. Well, after the Mandela, I'll tell you, I am just not going to worry about it anymore, because anything can magically change. Yeah, sorry about that with the internet. I don't know. You know, I thought we were off to a good start. I had a really good internet. I've had really good computer function for days. And then look what happens. Wait, they say we're on the other galaxy that crashes into the Milky Way. Oh, yeah, I think I talked about that. I don't remember us being on the other galaxy, though. That's it. I remember a galaxy crashing into us. What was that, 6 months ago-ish or something? Is Earth in the Milky Way galaxy? I'll add crashing to see if that helps any. The formation of the sun and the subsequent emergence of life on Earth may be a consequence of a collision between our galaxy and a smaller galaxy. All right, that might be pretty close to the subject matter here. All right, now I do remember this baloney about the smaller galaxy crashing in. And a smaller galaxy called Sagittarius, discovered in the 1990s to be orbiting our galactic home. Just happened to be called Sagittarius. Are you serious? Astronomers have known that Sagittarius repeatedly smashes through the Milky Way's disk as it orbits around the galaxy's core, tightens as a result of gravitational forces. Yeah, no, I didn't hear of that till recently. The ripples caused by the collision seems to have triggered more major star formation episodes, one of which roughly coincide with the time of the formation of the sun, some 4.7 billion years ago. All right, so now we're like a synthesis of Sagittarius galaxy and Milky Way galaxy. In fact, it seems possible that even the sun and its planets would not have existed if the Sagittarius dwarf had not gotten trapped by the gravitational pull of the Milky Way and eventually smashed through its disk. Every collision stripped Sagittarius of some of its gas and dust, leaving the galaxy smaller after each passage. All right, so now we're formed by the collision of the two galaxies, but we're not actually from Sagittarius galaxy. I would not be surprised if we're working that way, though, knowing how the Mandela likes to operate. All right, let's just see. Is there such thing as an Orion spur anymore? Orion Arm. All right, it looks like the word spur is still in there. Let's see what it has to say about it. No, it's right at the top. The Orion Arm is a minor spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy containing the solar system, including Earth. It is also referred to by its full name, the Orion Cygnus Arm, as well as local arm, Orion Bridge, and formerly the local spur and Orion spur. Formerly, like 2 years ago. I've never heard of Orion Bridge, by the way. That's a whole new one. All right, so the spur is rapidly showed up and then rapidly is leaving the galaxy. It's still there in vestige, but that's about it. Throw back a bottle of beer. Yep. North Pole disappeared. They were afraid of flooding worldwide if the North Pole melted. Yes. Problem solved. That's why I'm not worrying about no global warming, because they said we were all going to die because Arctica's glacial ice was going to melt, and since it was above ground, it was going to then fall into the ocean and raise the sea level. And they said, oh, Antarctica melting is not so dangerous because Antarctica's ice is already in the ocean. So if it melts, it's not going to change the height of the ocean. They said, oh, Arctica, that was going to raise the ocean like 100 feet or something. It was some ridiculous amount. But it's all gone now. That solved that problem. So we were going to have a global ice age. Now we're having global warming. Yeah, whatever. Now basically anything that happens, they blame it on global warming. Oh, this animal is in your area and you've never seen it before? Global warming. Everything is global warming. The trees are acting weird? Global warming. Okay, so you guys are kind of just chit-chatting. I'm going to just close these then. We're on to the next thing. So yeah, 3K PC. I think that's the main thing that shocked me. But also, we're not on a spur-like thing anymore. All right, the next thing is boomerangs. You guys, maybe or maybe not, possibly remember boomerangs being from Australia. Now, we covered that there was that boomerang returning axe thingy. So you could actually throw an axe like a boomerang and it would return. Never seen that before. That's crazy. So in my old timeline, boomerangs were this Australian throwing stick. You throw it, it would come back. But that's not exactly it anymore. They're not just Australian, and they don't necessarily come back. So something's been going on with boomerangs and physics, because we can throw an axe and have it come back. And boomerangs just means a thrown stick that spins now. It doesn't mean a thing that comes back. And, it's just such a weird thing because it's in our whole way of speaking that, something boomerangs. If you say it boomerangs, that's not a word for it spins on its axis. If you say something boomerangs, that means it's coming back. Okay, but now it's just a thrown tool. It may or may not come back. It is a thrown tool typically constructed as a flat airfoil. It is designed to spin about an axis perpendicular to the direction of its flight. Okay, so when they come back, they're called a returning boomerang. A returning boomerang is designed to return to the thrower. It is well known as a weapon used by some Aboriginal Australian peoples for hunting. But they also use non-returning boomerangs. So the word boomerang no longer means it comes back. It just means it spins. And this one was found by... This was on Retcon 2, and this one was the Evil Pack Rat. User the Evil Pack Rat found this on Retcon. Good find. And so we'll look at all my notes. Okay, so it's not just that they don't always come back. It's also that they're not just Australian. So apparently they found these in Egypt now. All right, I've lost my spot. Okay, here we go. Although traditionally thought of as Australian, boomerangs have been found also in ancient Europe, Egypt, and North America. There is evidence of the use of non-returning boomerangs by Native Americans of California and Arizona. Yeah, I call baloney on that one, dudes. And inhabitants of southern India for killing birds and rabbits. Some boomerangs were not thrown at all, but were used in hand-to-hand combat by indigenous Australians. Ancient Egyptian examples, however, have been recovered and experiments have shown that they function as returning boomerangs. Okay, so now they've got returning boomerangs in Egypt. Hunting sticks discovered in Europe seem to have formed a part of the Stone Age arsenal of weapons. One boomerang was made of mammoth's tusk and is believed, based on AMS dating of objects, to be about 30,000 years old in the Netherlands. Boomerangs have been found in Vlaardingen and Velsen from the 1st century BC. King Tutankhamun, the famous pharaoh of ancient Egypt, who died over 3,300 years ago, owned a collection of boomerangs of both the straight flying and returning variety. So here we go, the boomerangs of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, straight flying and returning style ones. So, sport boomerangs. Okay, so anyway, they were everywhere. There was another sentence I wanted to say. Traditionally, most boomerangs used by Aboriginal groups in Australia were non-returning. These weapons, sometimes called throw sticks or kylies, were used for hunting a variety of prey from kangaroos to parrots at a range of about 100 meters or 330 feet. A non-returning boomerang could inflict mortal injury upon a large animal. All right, then there's just like hypothesizing about how it might be used. But anyway, boomerangs were returning sticks, and there was no freaking way that they were anything else. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to take that one. Eliza POW, we're late. You'll just have to watch it on the rerun. Most of it was me being not on the internet and people chit-chatting, though. You got some chit-chat in, but yeah, sorry, there's a big old slow spot in this from like 8 minutes to way later until I got my internet working again. Non-returning boomerang. Yeah, it really is kind of like they're messing with us. Don't you feel like it? Like, the more I think about this, it's like everything just keeps reversing. First, we're going to have an ice age. Now we're going to have global warming. Okay, now it's climate change. First, a boomerang means a returning stick. Now it means a non-returning stick. I mean, like, they're messing. It's like the universe is going to mess with you until you finally accept that something ain't right. I feel like that with a lot of the global main events with the jib jab and stuff too. It's like first this is fact, then it's this, then it's this, then it's this. And it's just constant reversals. Now it's just coming like month by month and week by week they reverse. Indonesia looks bizarre since 2016. I don't know. Most of the countries just look totally ridiculous. Europe's all shifted around. Kazakhstan is ridiculously huge. Yeah, Shari. King Tut had a boomerang collection. Next shift, we will find his Ferrari collection. Yeah, yep. Japan looks like a curvy boomerang. I thought it had turned in. It kind of looks like a seahorse or like a dragon for me now. Japan. It didn't used to look like that. It just looked like a big bunch of blobs before, and not nearly so many blobs, I might add. Yeah, it's an Australian word. It was an Australian thing, and they were returning. They all returned. There was a whole thing about how they had to get the shape just right or it wouldn't return. And there was no thing ever about non-returning boomerangs. The whole point of a boomerang was to get it to return. Pennsylvania had voting booth curtains on pre-digital voting machines. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if you heard, but in California, we're trying to recall the governor, and the recall ballots were sent out. So they wanted the Dems wanted to have ballots sent out to every registered voting member, And I assume it's because that might help the Democrats a tiny bit, because Dems prefer to vote by ballot more so than the Republicans. So I'm like, fine, I actually vote by mail all the time for years now. So the ballot came, and for some people in some locations, there was 2 tiny holes punched in the envelope in the back. And if you slip your ballot in there with one, there's a certain side, you'd 50-50 how you'd stick it in. If you stuck it in one way, then that one of those holes actually lined up precisely with the answer to question 1, which is yay or nay on recalling the governor. So what's the chances of that happening? So they can basically tell how you voted from the outside of the ballot. And it's just chance or not. So 50-50 they could tell. Now, I was told by some that they inspected their exterior envelopes of their ballots and didn't have it. But I know in my area it did have it. So if you didn't put it in right, then they can tell how you voted. So highly suspicious. I don't know. I think part of it is just like the timeline loves drama, and that's just going to be like another piece of it. But it is irritating to think that if we lose this recall, I'll be wondering forever if it was because of those freaking punch holes or not. Shari D. Oh, is Dark Wolf Den in? Hey, you. I call a non-returning boomerang a stick. I know. It's exactly it. I think it's messing with us. It's like a really long word. And over in Tennessee, they call it a stick. I like that. Let's see. Now in this timeline, there are no curtains on Dutch voting booths ever. No, I don't know anything about Dutch voting booths. I do remember booths having curtains, but pull up Japan. Okay, if you insist, I will have to do it. Oh, maybe I'll just get Google Earth, because then we can fly around. Google Earth. It takes a little longer to load, but it is nice to be able to fly around. Meanwhile, I can read the rest of the chit chat. Double snake or vulture with snake on the... I just wasn't that observant about the headdresses, so I don't remember vultures on stuff, though. I mean, it could have been snakes. There's animals that are showing up that I don't remember ever being there in the Egyptian pantheon. Ugly green. I do remember ugly green curtains and voting booths, but I don't remember like where those booths were or when there was, On NPR, they said ocean floor sank when the ice melted, so no flooding. The ocean floor sank when the ice melted. That doesn't really make... What would ice melting make the ocean floor sink? That's weird. Oh, okay. I believe you, Morpheus, but I don't know enough about the booths to really say. I just remember seeing images of that, but I don't remember, like, where they were or what country. In this realm, Democrats and liberals are cheaters. Frankly, I think everybody's a cheater. I really don't trust anybody. I don't think that any people in power can be trusted. If you look at the Bible, it says, do not trust your leaders during the end times. And it doesn't give any exceptions to that rule. So, Poland became huge. Yeah, or... are you going to load? It only loads if I'm looking at it. Either that or the other countries shrank, and I'm having trouble deciding. Poland definitely looks larger than its neighbors compared to how it used to look compared to its neighbors. Here we go. Let me get a little closer here. Every time I go, it looks different. See, like, Africa used to just be like half of the globe for me. And then Europe would be on the top. Look at how, let's see, do I have this straight? So Africa is just squeezing off to the left Europe too. It used to be like underneath it. It was more like, you know how North America, South America was under North America, and you could see all of these and then still have a bunch of ocean. You didn't have to like spin the globe around to see it like you do now. There was that much ocean that you could see it. So Africa is like squeezing around to the left here, the west side. So it's like smashing up into Europe. This used to be underneath, and I'm really seeing it more now. Okay, let's go over to Japan. They're showing all these underwater things. They never used to do that. There were never any maps that showed all this underwater maps that I ever saw. Ooh, you know, it's looking really long and skinny. I'm having trouble controlling this globe, as you can see. It doesn't listen to me. It's terrible. I used to do better on this thing. I can't control this globe. Oh, look at that. It's so long now. Let's see. I don't know. Does this count? I think that's Sakhalin. That still counts as part of Japan now. So it kind of like a little seahorse for me if you don't count this Sakhalin. This is like the head, and this is like the body. You could just imagine some little feet. There's the neck vertebrae. It's looking really fat down here now, though. This island's getting really big. So I just remember a couple islands here. You know, they're like this. It's filling in. Look at this. Wow. You know, I haven't looked at Japan in a while. So there was a lot of more separate islands in here, and these have all just filled in. They're all meaty. Look at that. Oh, my gosh. Holy chihuahuas. Check it out. So this island's gotten a lot bigger. Is that... Dang, look at that. Okay, so some of it's still here because this is just waters right here, I guess. But still. Ugh. Why am I groaning? It's because my screen just went out. I'll have to use my backup screen now. Okay, so... Yeah, look, this is all filled in now. I don't remember it being like that. All of this, no. That wasn't all one giant piece. Not even like last year. I wonder if any Japanese are seeing this. The whole torso of the sea lion has filled in. Look at that. And I think, is that Sakhalin? Are we going to get a name, please? Look at that. That is some really piss poor looking imagery, too. It looks like somebody took a stipple brush and went... Sakhalin, yes, Sakhalin. Sakhalin. I didn't have that before, so I don't think I've ever heard that actually said out loud. This thing is filling in. This tail looks like it's going to completely close. It was only about to here before, but there's like little dots coming in. Look at all the little islands. I think this is going to fill all the way in here and connect over to this guy. I forget what this peninsula is. This peninsula looks like it's been getting big, too. Look at that. This peninsula is cranking. So there's going to be, like, protected area in here. There's going to be protected area in here. Look at this. This is all filling in. Wow, look at that. That's all filling in now. Oops. You know, this Google Earth doesn't like me. And we've got Australia. Look at all this stuff up is here. It takes up just as much area as Australia, except for it's not filled in. This is getting really big here. Europe is like puny now. That's why when you say Poland looks big, it's like Europe looks tiny to me. Ukraine has become massive. Saudi has become massive. India used to be really big and it's shrunk. I feel like all these other countries have just like shrunk more, and that's why Poland looks big. Yeah, I don't remember it being that big though. Germany looks like it's either retained size or gotten bigger than I remember also. Spain, France, Germany, and Poland have done pretty good, but these other countries are really shrinking. But I think overall they've all shrunk, like all of these, because Russia's massive. Kazakhstan, look at that thing. It's weird because they've kind of colored the lines in really light, so you can't really notice when they're moving. This Google Earth is really kind of a stinker. You can't see the lines, especially here on the lighter areas. Okay, so this is looking weird too. This giant green belt here, I don't recall ever seeing that like this, with all super, super green and then like super, super tan there. I think it was a Mandela a while back that the equator now is not the hottest area. It was out a little bit. There was some kind of weird story where the areas near the equator were the hottest, but not right on the equator. The stands. Yes, I know. I've heard that this last year, the stands, like Kazakhstan and those places, the stands. They were just tiny, tiny before. The stands. They don't even have anything labeled. Lots of stands. Ukraine is bigger. Yep. Vampires. So yeah, the whole vampire story really seems to be developing, because we've got these, there's like this illness that makes you allergic to the sun. We've got these people that like to drink adrenochrome. We're going to get the pointy teeth. We've got weird genetic defects that give you pointy teeth now. So for me, India was a lot bigger too. It shrunk a lot. I have strange dreams lately. I had conversation in Russian, remembered a word. I Googled it, and it was a real Russian word. Oh, interesting. I've had a few kind of weird things like that, but most of the stuff I look up in my dreams doesn't exist at all. So I don't know if I'm just totally fantasizing it, or if it's some other timeline, or it's coming, or whatever, but... It was never connected from America to Asia. Yep. All those little islands. Yep. So I saw those kind of growing about 5 years ago, that I noticed there was a little tail coming off Alaska, and I've been noticing it's getting bigger and bigger. Japan's almost touching the mainland. Yep. So Japan for me is really long and skinny now compared to where it was. And it used to be way further out also, I agree. I have a drawing of how I remember Norway and Sweden. So for me, they were on top of, they were, where would you call that? Norway and Sweden for me. I'm just not doing a good job on this map. We're right here. They attached right here, and then they flopped up around here, and they were way smaller. So those guys have gotten huge. So I had noticed they were getting bigger, bigger, bigger. So they would come up, and then they kind of tickled Denmark that way. But then suddenly they jumped over onto Russia, and they tickle Denmark that way. And they have really grown. I mean, look at this. They're almost the size of they're like maybe 2/3 the size of Europe now. That's insane. Just, it's craziness. Whoa. That wasn't part of the plan. Spain is tilted out of the way of Africa. Boink. Oh, you're right. It used to come down more here. So I think Africa is basically cruising to the west, and it's going to smash up over there. I don't know. Maybe we're running out of length on the Earth. As I mentioned before, I remember you'd look at Earth, you could see North America and South America without any spinning at all. And that's just not the case anymore. So you get down to the bottom of South America here, and it's already tickling Antarctica. It's running out of room. So maybe that's why it's going to the side, because it's out of room. So it's going to have to start squishing into this hole over here. Squish it up that way. Europe's going to probably squish around to the east, or like I said, Africa to the west, but you could say Europe's squishing around to the east. That's another way of saying it. But we've got, let's see, do we have a whole side without anything on it? Yes, we kind of still do. Let me back off a little. See, now they're putting those clouds in there just to piss me off. And it's hide stuff, you know. You can't tell if the view has changed. It looks to me as if we've got a little bit more land around the edges than last time I checked this. See, I can't get it out. So these clouds are hiding the new land bits. Okay, so going way back, I don't remember having one side of the Earth all blue. So I do feel like all the continents have squished around to one side. They've left the back blue. Last time I checked the back, though, you really couldn't see much land once you got to the total blue area. And now I'm trying to lay it out like that again, but I can't. Now, they're making it hard for me to notice, because when I try to draw back, they immediately stick these freaking clouds on there, which are really not useful whatsoever other than to piss me off. Look at this. Now you can't draw back good because these clouds are everywhere. Just take off the freaking clouds. Look at that. It looks so weird to me now. And then they add this. This is not helping either. Actually, I don't remember all this back here. That must be a new function. So it's the, ooh, look at the, what the heck with the clouds there? What's that? That's not how the clouds look. It looks like a monkey was painting a portrait with his toes. And what's this? What's this? Google. There's like a line that like cuts right here. That is like the cheesiest crap. They need to go back to beta testing. Jeez. Google, you suck. Not only does the search engine suck, but Google Earth sucks. If they're going to make up baloney, at least they could do is like smooth over that business. I'm sorry, but I just... Have you ever seen any satellite images of the clouds that look like that? That's just ridiculous looking. Lone Eagle is the only person who changed a lot with every shift. Yeah, there's been... I think there was one other that people thought had changed a lot. Iceland got big, yeah. Yeah, wasn't the U.S. like on the complete opposite of China? Yes. And we check this because, you know, there's that old joke, digging your way to China. If you were digging a deep hole, they would say you were trying to dig to China, like you could dig through the whole Earth and come out the other side. Now, obviously, you couldn't, but we even checked on the globe that indeed China was on the opposite side. It was legit. You know, obviously, you can't really do it, but China was on the other side. So I had a Chinese coworker. And she once asked me if we had that saying, because China, they have the saying that you dig through to the America. So she's like, yeah, we have this joke, if you dig deep hole, you go through to America. I'm like, well, we have a joke that if you dig a deep hole, you go through to China. So we both thought it was hilarious that both countries had this. And, maybe there was interaction that caused both countries to develop it. But whatever, the whole point was we were on opposite sides. And I've got like a lot of anchor memories for that. Yeah, I didn't check if it was like every molecule of the US went to every molecule of China, but China was freaking huge. So, no, I'm sorry, General Sorrow, but in my timeline, it was not a myth. We checked it on the globe. Both China and America said it. It was never a myth. China. China was big. But, I had a whole different map and everything. And like I said, we did not have. It really looks like nothing is on the opposite side. Because if you look, there's a whole side of the globe that's empty. So I guess something on the edge over here. Let's see. All right, I got to zoom in so I can see the. All right, so let's see. If we're here, yes, I'm totally inept at driving this Google Earth. If we're here, dang it. It's not driving. They've made this thing to piss me off me personally. All right, so from there to there, yeah, it looks like it's Australia on the other side now. Ugh, okay, this thing's making me crazy. Jonestown juice. We were just joking about that earlier. China and the USA are in the northern hemisphere. Well, they are now. But, the whole point of the Mandela is we all remember stuff in different places. And a lot of us do not remember a whole blank ocean area on one side of the earth like now. Where was New Zealand for everybody? Okay, so for me, it was on the north south east side of Australia, pretty close, and it was one piece, and it was smaller than it is now, at least compared to Australia. Yes, so I know there's some people. That one is very interesting because people remember it in different places. And also, there's kind of this joke on the current timeline that people forget to put New Zealand on the map. And there was no joke like that before because it was, sorry, there's a hair on me, because it was right next to Australia, and you wouldn't forget it. It was Australia and New Zealand. And I'm doing that backwards for me, so it should be forwards for you. This, my streaming program reverses things. So, okay, I didn't close Google Earth yet, luckily. Let's go back to Australia. Find it. Okay, so for me, it was like right here. Now, Australia looks goofy. It didn't have this big bow in it. It didn't have this, and it didn't have all this stuff. It was way out by itself. So if you just expand this globe by about 3, then it would have been like, say that this is, I don't know, it was like this big with this much space all around it. I mean, it was out by itself. So it's like huge now, and there's all this stuff. I'm not explaining this very well. So for me, New Zealand was here, and then it was like 5 years ago, it was way out here. But this blue is just disappearing. So everything is getting smashed together. Like a lot of people have said, it looks like Pangaea is happening. Everything is squishing back together. So this one, New Zealand has had to come back in because there's just not enough ocean for it. So it's sort of coming back where I remember it now. But it's bigger because it used to just be kind of tiny next to Australia. And now it's in two pieces. And it looks like a third piece might split off at the top, but I keep saying that, and it keeps not happening. It goes, I swear, it's like foot by foot, that break off up there. And heck, I might get somewhere where it reverses. I've noticed that some things come into being and then they disappear again. Look at this. The quality totally sucks. Okay, so it was going to break at Auckland. Let's see. That was my theory anyway. Right in here. Ooh, it looks like it's getting tight. $800 meters. Why is it? I wish it would give me miles. How many kilometers in a mile? That's meters, I think. Is it miles or meters? I think it used to... What's the distance from here to here? Here to here. It used to give it in miles. Anyway, it definitely looks like it's less than a mile now. Because that does not look like 500 miles. So it has to be meters. So that'd be 1,500 feet. I'm going to have to figure out what that is in miles later. Upper right to Australia was New Zealand. It was one part. Australia was closer than South Pole. Yeah, nowhere near pink. I agree with that. Yeah, so we're losing all our water. I mean, I guess we don't really need to have it because they're just squishing more fish into the same area. And we're getting more edible things, so I'm not really worried about it at this point. What is this? Firth of Thames? Firth of Thames. I've not heard that name before. All right. Don't get me started on changing my body. I can turn my head like an owl now. I do feel like I can turn my head more, and some people can turn their head like an owl, but I can't turn it all the way around. I mentioned that, I think, several years ago before I saw the guy that turns, and there's more and more of those guys that can turn their head like owls now. And a whole bunch of other birds and animals can turn their heads like owls. So when I was a kid, the owls are the only one that could turn their head all the way around, and that was the big claim to fame, but now it's not like a big deal at all. We live with half the time. I agree with you, Roger. It is about half to me. I feel like the days are about half, as long as they used to be, as far as getting stuff done. And sea level should rise since human body went from 90% water to less than 60%. So similarly, the Earth's coverage of water has dropped. It has not risen. So, I mean, once you see, like, water and whole continents disappear and stuff, it's like, whatever's in charge of it, I don't think it's random at all. I don't think something like global warming can really get us. So, I mean, I don't take that in a view of Republican versus Democrat is just supernatural. It just, I used to think that global warming was a pretty plausible theory, but now what I'm seeing, it's like no conventional theories can explain any of it. So then the planet is spinning twice as fast, or it's smaller. I think it is smaller. The actual rate of spin might not be that different. Who knows if we even spin? I mean, if this is all a simulation, does World of Warcraft spin faster if the time is slowed down? It's a simulation. I don't know. Don't know. All right. I guess we should move along sometime. Yes. Katabatic wins. Katabatic wins. Boomerangs don't return. That's the Mandela joke for today. A katabatic wind is a drainage wind, a wind that carries high density air from a higher elevation down a slope under the force of gravity. Okay, so now I've heard of winds getting kind of funneled along long valleys or long, between crests of hills and stuff and going faster because they kind of get squeezed in there, right? But now they're saying like gravity affects it. Such winds are sometimes called fall winds, katabatic winds. I've never heard of that. Now we do have something like that here. Now here's what's creepy. Katabatic winds can rush down elevated slopes at hurricane speeds. So that's why I kind of they got their own name, and it reaches hurricane speeds now. A wind that blows down a slope because of gravity. See, I've never heard gravity have anything to do with it. It occurs at night when the highlands radiate heat and are cooled. So before it was, hot, cold, rising, lowering, in compressed spaces. It was not gravity. I mean, like, if gravity could affect the air so much, wouldn't the air all just fall onto further down and squish harder onto the earth all the time? I mean, the whole point of air is that gravity doesn't have much effect on it. I mean, other than keeping it from spinning out into space is the storyline. But since when does gravity grab a hold of air and make it go far faster? I've never heard of that. So it's high density air, so gravity grabs it more? Anyway, weird. Time change with size of Earth. One would guess. Yeah, I don't know if it spins or what. I don't know what. You heard me last week. I don't know what's going on. I really feel like anything could be true. The way things are changing, you just can't. If I found out that if I traveled really far and ran into the dome that covers the Earth, I don't think I would be super shocked at this point. Or if I went to Mars, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know what the bleep. I saw clouds behind the moon a few times. It doesn't make sense. Now, in my old timeline, the clouds would just cover the moon. They do look like they're going behind it, but you could make an argument that this moon is so bright that the light just shines through and makes it look like they're behind. So I know what you're talking about, but I can't really 100% say for sure it was behind or the light is shining through. So, tricky. Yeah, so the cool air comes down, General Sorrow, but they're saying it's because of gravity, and I've never heard of that. And also hurricane force winds. And they have their own word called katabatic, which I've never heard before. Okay, this one, I'm surprised nobody suggested this one, but this one just fits in with our very popular storyline of the herbivores that are no longer herbivores. And so you might have noticed that the gentle giant tortoises, known for being herbivores, one of them was caught hunting and killing a baby bird in the wild, and horrifying incident. So this guy chases down this baby bird and just noshes it. And now they're saying, oh, well, there had long been rumors of such things, but it had never been caught on camera. And they're even saying, and I'll tell you, this did not happen in my old timeline. All these animals that have other animals groom them. So like the fish would go to the grooming station, and smaller fish would groom them. So apparently now these tortoises will raise up and put out their arms for the birds to groom them. And so there's a rumor now that occasionally the giant tortoises will just drop down on top of the bird suddenly and squash it and then eat it. So yes, gentle vegetarians. Not. So I don't know if you've noticed, but these things can get as big as a person now. So, or larger, like literally they've got to weigh like 1,000 pounds or something. So if one of those things suddenly flopped down on a bird, it would kill a bird. Because you got to imagine they weigh 2 or 3 times or more what a human weighs. And then you've got this hard shell to boot, so that you wouldn't have any soft flesh to pad the squishing. You can see stars in the dark side of the moon during the daytime. Looks transparent. I can barely see the moon at all during the day anymore. If I did see that, I would think that's highly suspicious. I've heard rumors of it, but it's really hard to tell what's real online, because that would be like so easy to fake. So, and I haven't been able to see it myself. Plant eaters, humans becoming vegans. Yeah, I wonder, maybe humans will become vegans and everything else will become scungy meat eater beasties. That would be an interesting take on that, actually. Because that is kind of what I'm noticing, is less tendency towards meat eating among people. Even people who like meat and aren't trying to be vegetarians seem to be cutting back. They just aren't interested anymore in eating that much meat. Okay, so here's a question for Bible people. I don't know if I'm all alone on this or not, but how many rivers came out of Garden of Eden in, the biblical story? Garden of Eden, how many rivers came out of Garden of Eden? Yeah, the lions eating the young, that was new, but not new, like 4, 5, 6, 7 years, but they didn't used to do that. But I only had one, the Pride of Lions only had one lion king. And then they started to have these stories, like rarely 2 brothers would team up. And it was like 10, 15 years ago. And now it's like all the time there's like multiple brothers and all this. I find it harder to breathe now outside of the severe asthma, scoliosis, along with all the drugs Yeah, I was having trouble, I think what they call it, air hunger. I have not heard that term until the last year, but it's called air hunger when you feel like you're not breathing enough. And the B1 thiamine vitamin helped me a lot with that. And B1 deficiency is known to cause air hunger. So I'd give it a shot. I don't know, something's going on with the B1, because a lot of people seem to be really being helped with that. And I didn't have all those problems 10 years ago. And frankly, I eat healthier now than I used to. So, and I eat more B1 stuff than I used to. So something's up. I don't know if all the brain needs more B1 in this timeline or what, but I would not be surprised if we eventually get to where they say that most of our problems were just all vitamin deficiencies and stuff like that. And that will be, an ideal scenario, because it'd be easy fix. And so instead of we're weak and easily ravaged by viruses and sickly and wimpy things, we'll just be, oh, you just needed to take this vitamin. And the storyline may turn out to be that the evil big pharma hid it all this time, because they wanted to make money and blah, blah, blah. And that could turn out really good for us, because then we could just have the solutions to a lot of problems. Just think about that storyline, because that would work out. The length of days is back to normal before ME for me again. Not for me, but it does seem like days have gotten a little longer lately. It's not back where it was, though, for me. Days were really long for me. Really long. So yeah, I definitely would try the B1 and give it a few months. Maybe start out slow. What I did was I got the powder and I just mix it into some flavoring. The thiamine HCl powder is not, it's not the best taste in the world, but it's not real bad, so it mixes in pretty easily. So you can mix it in with a little flavored drink, electrolyte drink. It just needs enough flavoring to mask it. I mean, if you had a smoothie, you would never notice there's B1 in there. Now, this is the tricky part, though. Thiamine is blocked like so many foods. So you really can't put in with berries or anything with polyphenols or flavonoids, which is a lot of stuff. So you can't put in with tea or coffee. That blocks it. So that's why the electrolyte drinks, if they don't have caffeine and they don't have quercetin, work pretty good. But I'll just put it in a little liquid and I'll just slam it back sometimes too. It's not that bad. I interpret the lion laying with the lamb as eating less meat over time. Yeah, could be. You know, Dolores Cannon said we'll eventually not require food anymore. So I did mention a while back there had been some kind of indicator that we might be able to slightly photosynthesize. And the story was if we ate enough greens that we had a little bit of photosynthetic ability. So that might be kind of how it's going to go eventually. All right, now, Eliza, you are totally cheating if you looked at the KDV now. Okay. You have to do it by memory. You can't look at it now. Otherwise, it's cheating. I looked up Genesis, it still lists 4 rivers. Yeah, that's after the New Earth. Yeah, after the New Earth is when I'm discussing a lot of this. Or, you know, we'll be on our way there. Okay, so what I remember there being 4 rivers coming out of the Garden of Eden. And I kind of would picture it in my head, you know, like a gate and the river coming under it and then over here and like that. And I don't know. 4 rivers coming out of the Garden of Eden is what I remember. I don't know. Is that what you guys remember? And I'll tell you, I don't remember the rivers quite that well, but I remember 4 rivers. All right, so preliminary remembers 4 rivers, 2 main rivers. That's interesting. Okay, so now you can even say how I wrote it because I wrote rivers in Garden of Eden, but they're not in Garden of Eden anymore. And see the question, what are the 4 rivers that come from Eden? Indicates that person's thinking like me. But now the actual story is only 1 river flowed out of Eden. And it's split into 4 heads. The name of one is Pishon. That is the one that encompasses all land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. There is the crystal and the onyx stones. I don't remember any of that, but I can't swear to it. The name of the second river is Gishon. I don't remember that name either. This one encompasses all the land of Cush. The name of the third river is Chikadel. I don't remember that one. This is the one that flows to the east of Ashur. And the 4th river is the Perat. Okay, so what the thing is, though, that now there's only 1 river that flows out, and it splits into 4 heads. Let me see if I can find where it says that. All right, I'm going to write 4 heads so I can find it again. The Bible says that a single river flowed out of Eden and then does something that most rivers do not do, specifically split into 4 separate heads, or rivers that flowed downstream, all fed from a common single river source. I see that kind of stuff all the time, although it usually happens closer to the ocean. Almost all rivers start from a single course and are fed by multiple sources. Anyway, so yeah, the story now is there's only one river and it splits into 4 heads. So the river of Eden that parted into 4 heads was not a natural river, but the divine wisdom of the Lord. Do the 4 rivers lead us to the Garden of Eden? Modern readers of the Bible often mistake the phrase, "from thence it was parted and became 4 heads," to mean that the headwaters of 4 rivers originated in Eden. In fact, the opposite is indicated. Anyway, so I've seen like a million images of 1 river and 4 heads. So for me, that's a Mandela because I remember 4 rivers. Yeah, 4 rivers, 4 corners. That's what I remember. So, when I was thinking about this, 4 rivers, 4 corners. So preliminal remembers 4 rivers and 2 main rivers. Because, they would talk about the Garden of Eden. They didn't talk about what happened way outside the walls, or I don't know. I always think of it as walls. I don't really remember if there's walls, but in my mind there was walls. I don't remember them talking at all about what the water did after it left the Garden of Eden. It was just not even something I even once thought about. It's now 4 rivers in Quran too. There's been a lot of changes in the Quran. I've heard very few people say there have been changes in the Quran, but it's very much frowned upon to ever say anything. You just can't do that as a Muslim. You just can't. I mean, it's just way more controlled. So even if people thought they saw it, they probably would keep their mouth shut. But yeah, we're seeing the changes in the Bible. So the Quran has a lot of Bible in it. So it's logical that those same parts would change in the Quran. Oh yeah, you're right. There was a funny weed killer commercial where an American guy and a China man tugging on the same dandelion. Yes, they're right. That was. I do remember that. Wow, that was way back. Let's see, where are we now? Tigris. Yeah, so I don't know. Gihon, not Gishon. All right, let's just see. What are the 4 rivers? What are the... You guys tell me if it's right or not. I'm just not sure on the names. That is not my area. I kind of just... The orientation of things is more like how I remember things, but I don't remember names very well. So, Pishon, Gishon, Pishon, Gishon, Chittikel, and Pirat. According to that. Okay, maybe that's Jewish. Do we have different ones? Dang, there's not, oh, what are the 4 rivers of Eden? In Genesis, let's try that one. No, I'm not even sure if I'm still centered. Let me see. I want to move this out of the way a little bit. Or that wasn't part of the plan. Yeah, because my regular screen has gone crazy. All right, close that. See, now it says Genesis 2:10, an A river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. Yeah, it looks like Pishon, Gihon, those ones I said are the right ones. Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates is what these 4 are saying. So this must be the Christian version. Pishon, Gishon, Tigris, Euphrates. All right, that might explain why I didn't heard of those other ones, because they are Jewish style ones, maybe. Somebody else remembers 3. No, I definitely remember 4. Okay, so let's see. What else did I want to say about that? That one came from John Austin, so good find. So when I was thinking of that, and I'm thinking, where did the 4 rivers, and I realized I remembered something that sounds like the old, a little bit like the old Eden with the 4 rivers. So Eden doesn't have the 4 rivers anymore, but something else has shown up that does have the 4 rivers. So I don't know if like the 4 rivers concept has some kind of iconography or something in it, but I guess you can probably figure out, I'm going to say it's Hyperborea. Reminds me of the 4 rivers. So there was no Hyperborea for me in the old days because there was Arctica there. So Hyperborea is said to be a land with 4 kind of continent type land masses split by 4 rivers, one in each like corner sort of, or across from each other. So I'm just realized that when Eden stopped having the 4 rivers, but Hyperborea has the 4 rivers now. Is that why Eden can't have the 4 rivers? Because it can't sound too much like Hyperborea? I don't know. It just seemed, and that might just be totally random, but I thought it was interesting. All right, so a lot of people do remember 4. I'm glad. I actually feel a little nervous about my Bible knowledge because I'm not as confident about it, but I really thought it was 4 rivers. So I'm always worried. I'm like, what if I'm the only one who remembers the 4? I'll feel like a goober. All right, this one was from, okay, so there's a Japanese person who posts on my comments, and they always post it in Japanese, and then I run it through Google Translate, and I used to know this person's channel name, and I've mentioned it on here before, but now I totally forget. And so when I ran the name through Translate, here's the problem. It probably translated it badly because there's lots of different ways to pronounce Japanese words, and the chances that Google Translate will guess the translation correctly is minimal. But anyway, Google says your name is Taro Eto, but I don't think that's it because it doesn't ring a bell. But anyway, that's your Google name now is Taro Eto. Found this one. Do you remember Cockroach's Molting? Have you ever seen a molting cockroach? I've just never, like, heard of it. I know a lot of bugs do, but, I mean, have you seen a bunch of molted cockroach shells laying around? I mean, I've been to places that had a lot of cockroaches. In the city, they have a lot more problems. I live out in the country. But I never once saw a cockroach shell from a molted cockroach. But apparently they do now molt. And look at how white that one is. Has anybody ever seen a white cockroach because it recently molted? I've never seen that. Ever. So that's kind of weird. And also, I guess mantises do it. See, we didn't have any spiders, but we had cockroaches today. Gotta have something creepy every week. Oh. The heck. There's a molting mantis. That's ridiculous looking. Oh my God, if you saw that on the ground, I think I would probably... I'm not much of a screamer type, but I might let out some kind of noise if I saw that on the ground. God, it looks like it should be in the deep sea. I'm going to check this thing out. Mantis mold. Look at that thing. Oh my, the colors. Oh, it's a mantis shrimp. Okay. It's mantis shrimp. So it is a deep sea beast. Oh, it was presently supplies to find this perfect intact molt of our mantis shrimp in the tank. Okay, so that's the shell of the mantis after it left the department. Okay. Okay, so they said the person Taro is your name now. Sorry. Said it was cockroaches and mantises, and I actually didn't question whether it was mantis shrimp or mantises, but I do find that mantises molt, so I'm thinking that it was the insect style of mantis. So apparently there's these white mantises flopping around too because they molted, and there should be mantis shells everywhere, and like this molt. And I've never seen a single freaking one of these things. Now, I don't see a ton of mantises, so I could see not seeing those. But the cockroaches, I mean, if you go to a place where there's a lot of cockroaches, you should see some white ones and some shells, and it didn't happen. I only remember 3 because 1 was lost. Oh, interesting. I wonder if we can tell timelines by how many rivers came out of Eden. Splitting up rivers now. 1 big river sounds like timelines. 1 timeline splitting up. Interesting take on that one. So we've got people who remember 4. Remember people who remember 3. People who remember 2. And a few people remember 1. Okay, so what do I have left? I might be coming down the home stretch here. Oh, okay. Another one for you. No checking now, no cheating. From memory, how do you spell fettuccine? As in the noodles, like fettuccine noodles. How do you spell the word fettuccine? I have another one. There's 2 this week that very much remind me that I think the Mandela is trolling us. The Boomerangs are one. This one is even more outrageous. I think it might just show how much I'm starting to get used to the Mandela, that I just have a huge urge to laugh when I see this one. And some of you may not think it's quite so funny, but what a vacation. When you think about it, people don't know how to vacation. Yeah, I need to do more vacation. Vacation. I got to learn how to relax on the vacation. I feel like I've got to see like everything, and then I just got to like go on vacation, do like nothing or close to nothing. I don't know if I'd want to do nothing, but less things, and go for a long time, because it does take me a couple days to unwind sometimes. All right, Shari's not from my timeline. Sorry. Oh man, how sure are you guys of these spellings? This might be another bunch of different timelines one. So this one was on Retcon, and it was, man, I'm not underlining my people. Okay, and it was user TO55R 25er. I don't know, TO55R. Good find on the fettuccini. So I probably should ask how sure you are, because if you have no idea how to spell fettuccine and you're just guessing, then you're not going to notice if it changed. Okay, so this is what I remember. Fettuccini. I believe there was two T's. Yeah. Fettucini. That's what I remember. See if anybody's close to that. I always needed a vacation after my vacation. Yeah, that's how I am. I come back, I'm totally beat. I need a long nap, a day off, so I can rest. I have fun on my vacations, but like I just and I don't have a lot of like, I've never really done vacations where you just lay on the beach all the time or something. That's something that's like a staycation. I'll go to the beach and hang out at the beach. But then I get bored, and then I have to walk for 5 miles along the beach. So I guess I don't even do it then, do I? I guess resting is for when you're at home. Fetalicious is a pizza. Okay, I've not heard of that. Fettuccini. Okay, so if you type in fettuccini, as I remember it, 2 T's, U, 1 C, and an I, 2 I's actually, Eni, an I at the end. That's what I remember. But it ain't that no more. So now there's 2 C's, which makes me laugh. You know, my old timeline just didn't have all these double C's, especially for the ch sound. And there's an E at the end. So two C's and an E. I call baloney on that. That it was definitely this one. 1 C and an I and at the end. Excuse me. There's some people putting an I in the end still, but there's always 2 C's. And it seems like the official way is an E at the end now. I've never seen that before. Fettuccine, type of pasta. So General Sorrow, I think, is from this timeline, because he remembers everything from this timeline. 0.923% certain. 0.9 is like 1% certain, so that's not very certain. Two C's look so long. Wrong. Yep. So I don't know. Anyway, in America, it kind of seems like what's happening is stuff that was very Americanized is being spelled correctly according to their language now. Or their language changed, which could be it. I swear there's a couple changes in French. You could say that I am not qualified to say that because I'm not fluent, but there's some things I learned. And our teacher was a French-speaking teacher from France, and she was very smart. So I don't think that we learned wrong things. And it seemed like it was correct for like 20 years, and then lately, suddenly, it's not. So I think maybe a couple things have changed. Okay. I guess I'll give the more shocking one. Well, no, I'll save the shocking one till last, even though it's kind of gross. I guess it depends on your outlook, but. So, giant kelp that grows in the ocean, like off the coast of California. In fact, we're known for our kelp forests right here in San Diego. Actually, I should check something. Let me just check one thing. In San Diego, kelp forest health. Let me just see what our kelp forests are looking like these days. The Point Loma kelp forest, largest kelp forest in California. Oh. All right, that's interesting. Okay, the reason I'm checking is because maybe 10 years ago, me and a friend decided that we were going to walk the beaches of San Diego kind of like from one end to the other. So we'd park, and then we'd walk as far as we could to the south. And then we'd walk, kind of mark where we were at. And then we'd walk all the way back to the car and go home. And then the next time we would park further, like near where we had left off, and go to that point, and then walk as far as we could south, and then go back, and then go home. So we were trying to like cover the beaches. There was a few beaches we couldn't do because there was cliffs and there was no place to walk and stuff, but we covered everywhere we could. And one thing, I learned a lot about the shorelines, and one of the big things was that the kelp forests had been annihilated, and there was almost no kelp left, and it was because of sea urchins. Sea urchins had eaten all of our kelp. And they said the sea urchins had thrived because of the runoff had given too much food for the baby sea urchins, allowing too many baby sea urchins to survive to adulthood, and then they just ate all the kelp. And even though the kelp grew really fast, there was like jillions of these freaking sea urchins. So they said that they used to farm kelp from our region, but they stopped because our kelp forests were annihilated and they would never recover, and they had tried to replant the kelp, but the urchins would just eat it right away. But according to this, our kelp forests are cranking along perfectly fine, and there's a danger of losing them in the future. So, apparently that timeline where my annihilated kelp never existed. But the real Mandela, this is my personal Mandela, but the real Mandela is that kelp, you thought it was a plant, right? But kelp is not a plant. And, you know, I've gone to lectures on the kelp forests. There's a whole big ecosystem plather about kelp forests because we have them right here. And I've never once heard this. So I'm really suspicious about kelp not being a plant. And it doesn't seem like this is super new. Kelp is not a plant. It's a protist. So they're saying that because kelp, what's that word? Doesn't have, it needs to have more than one kind of tissue. So it needs to have like differentiated tissue. So even though it has like stalks and leaves and little air bladders, they're saying it's not a plant because they're saying that these tissues are not different enough. So it was giant kelp specifically. I'm not sure if all the kelp is like that, but it looks like maybe all of it is. So, yeah, giant kelp. Not only is it not annihilated in California, right here in San Diego it was annihilated. And not only is it not annihilated, but it is not a plant. It's a protist. So they're saying that like protist is like it's a area for like everything that's not something else. So if it's not a fungus, it's not a plant, it's not any of those other things, they call it a protist. Now, I've never heard of that term. It's weird. The protist kingdom. So when did that even get invented? I don't know. I've never heard of that. I went to science class and we had all the kingdoms, and protist was not a kingdom. Ooh, now they're calling it a chromista. Okay, so there's two, some are calling it a chromista and some are calling it a protista. Okay, and this is the other reason. Okay, this is interesting. Only here did I see this one. They're saying kelp that kelp produce sugars and not starch. Also, other chromists have chlorophyll C, which gives it the characteristic brown tint. This pigment and other chromists contain are not found in any plant. A different kind of chlorophyll. I've never actually heard of more than one kind of chlorophyll. There was just chlorophyll. They all work the same. Chromista, the kingdom Protista, has been divided into chromista and other protists. The chromista have other evolutionary ties to plants, animals, and fungi, and than they do to other protists. Okay, so chromista is a subcategory of protista. They are eukaryotic and autotrophic. The group includes red-brown algae, kelp, and diatoms. The multicellular organisms in chromista are thought to have evolved their multicellularity independently from other kingdoms. Anatomy of kelp. The features of kelp look like plant features. Where a plant would have roots, kelp has a holdfast. It does not obtain nutrients in the way that plant roots do. The stripe or stalk of the kelp is analogous to the stem of plants. The blades of kelp are analogous to leaves. In some kelp, at the base of the kelp blades, there are structures called gas bladders that allow the kelp to stay afloat. Okay, so they're basically saying that even though it has all those plant features, the tissue is not different enough. Yeah, okay, whatever. All right, so I guess that's kind of a boring one, but fettuccine is not getting redlined, huh? Fettuccine. Well, heck, I don't know. Kelp is not a plant. Yes. I don't trust sushi anymore. It's said to have really bad germs. Well, I probably would have died long ago because I eat sushi all the time. Especially the sashimi with the fatty salmon. I love the fatty salmon. In fact, another thing that blocks B1 uptake, aka thiamine, is raw fish. It's probably part of my problem. Kobe sushi? Beef sushi? Kobe sushi? I don't know if I want beef sushi. I'm assuming you don't mean beef, right? And what's the plural of beef? You know what the plural of beef is, right? That's another Mandela for many. The plural of beef. The plural of beef. Did I ever? I think I covered that. You guys remember the plural of beef? Cow, cows, beef. What? Raw fish doesn't float my boat. Yeah, you put some soy sauce on there. Ah, good stuff. I grew up in California, so you pretty much grow up with sushi and a lot of foreign foods here. And I do call fish meat as well. The newer sushis that they make now, I mean, they got cream cheese and they tempura it, and it's not like the old school sushi. It is really tasty. I do like the old beef. is plural of beef. Yeah, that's the whole timeline, my dear friend, General Sorrow, but I finally caught you on one. Yeah, the logical danger has it is beeves. Beeves is the plural of beef. God, I laugh so hard. Oh, there's two correct forms now. Okay. Its grammatical forms and pluralization do not follow any typical rules that most words follow. Is beeves a real word? To first understand a word, its history, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yeah, it's beeves. I guess you can still say beefs. It's according to Merriam-Webster, it is correct in two forms: beefs or beeves. There's no beef though. I always thought the plural of beef was beef, so I agree with you there. But it's beefs or beeves, and they both sound stupid. Thankfully, culture defines a language and not the other way around. Whatever. Anyway, if culture defines a language, then how is it beefs or beeves? For example, the word beefing has also come to mean having an argument. I've never heard of beefing. I've heard of have a beef, but you may also call someone beefy if they have a lot of brawn. Yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, beeves, that showed up a couple years ago and we were laughing so hard. Beeves. You know, it sounds like Beavis and Butthead, but no, it's no, not Beavis, it's Beeves. Knives and beeves. Yes, no, for reals. Yeah, see, I remember Beeves is like Leave It to Beaver. They would call him Beeves, but the old TV show. Common mistakes, mark of the Mandela. Yes, very much so. Doesn't fish from the Pacific have a lot of mercury, arsenic, radiation, poisoning? You know what? I crave it. It tastes good. Everything's unhealthy anymore. I'm not worried about it. Not bleef, beeves. You guys are just not adjusting to the new timeline. Okay, so look at this. See, my internet and my computer's working stellar now after that boondoggle earlier, right at the beginning of the show. All right, so the last. Oh, did I curse myself by saying it? Look, now it's frozen. Come on. All right, here we go. The last one, which I'm just like, no, this is so wrong. This is worse than the boomerangs. This has completely made me laugh. I'm like, you know, I really actually should have checked if this was, let me just make sure it wasn't April 1st, because it just occurred to me that I didn't check the date of the article. I mean, did they make this up? Is it like, it better not be an April Fool's. April Fool's. No, it's July 31st. Okay. They have photos. Okay. Why the Hells Angels make out with fellow male bikers. And these are old photos. Hells Angels stand for heterosexual masculinity, but their culture also prioritizes homoerotic behavior through the traditional Hells Angels greeting of making out with each other. Yeah, there's an image of the Hells Angels kissing at Free Pop concert held in Hyde Park, London, 1970. No, No, it's not right. I mean, I don't have any problem if you want to do that stuff, but this is just not in my timeline. The angels differentiated themselves from society by kissing each other on the mouth as a greeting, as an opportunity to shock passers-by. Hell's Angels and other outlaw gangs proudly call themselves one percenters, a riff on the head of the American Motorcycle Association statement that 99% of bikers were law abiding citizens and 1% caused trouble. The bikers' kisses became immortalized in Hunter S. Thompson's book, Hell's Angels, A Strange and Terrible Saga. Is a guaranteed Kissing is a guaranteed square jolter, and the angels are gleefully aware of the reaction it gets. The sight of a photographer invariably whips the angels into a kissing frenzy. I mean, like, come on, dudes. No, don't. I think I would have heard about this. I'm sorry. So, has anybody heard of this? Hell's Angels. Oh my God, hell must be frozen. Yes, okay. Okay, it wasn't just me. I'm like, no. No. They did not do anything like that publicly. Yeah, see, the argument it was they love to do it publicly. Now, I don't know, like, certainly a few people behind closed doors, who knows what they did. But this, according to this, was this whole public thing. Italians, they kiss on the mouth like a smooch. They don't go like with the whole tongue and everything. They don't do the whole thing. Okay, so there's a difference between a smooch on the lips and making out. Okay, these guys are going to town. So I'm like, I don't know if somebody was just making stuff up to mess with us or the Mandela is, but you know, the way this stuff is going back in time, I'm tempted to believe it is probably the official storyline now. Is as hilarious it is. Boomerangs don't come back, and the machoist Hells Angels were known for their frenetic homoerotic kissing. The hyper-masculine atmosphere of male biker clubs might have allowed for more sexual fluidity and expression. No, it would allow you to get your face bashed in if you did that. I mean, in my timeline, you want to get beat maybe to death. That would be a good way to go, but if you look at the last century and a half, all male subcultures that were particularly hyper-masculine are often the subcultures that allow men more flexibility in their gender behavior. That just sounds ridiculous. I'm sorry. No. Yeah, no. Homosexuality also remained a part of the underground in the early years. Well, I mean, but they're saying it was like this big public thing. And then, like, I saw it on Reddit, and people were commenting, like, oh, well, they would spit in each other's mouths, too. And that was a way to to check for cops, because they're like, oh, the cops wouldn't want to do it. So we'll just do this, and then if they're a cop, we can suss them out or something. Like, no. Gay culture and biker culture often blended together. Hell's Angels viewed their freedom to kiss as an assertion of masculinity and the ultimate proof of their confidence in their heterosexuality. The performative kissing of the 1960 Hells Angels marks an important moment in straight white male homosexuality. an important moment in straight white male homosexuality. You can't have. All right, I'm not even going to try to go there. One in which homosexual contact is presented to the public as an expression of such extraordinary hetero-masculine rebelliousness that it defies categorization as gay. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not right. That did not happen in my timeline. And people can do whatever they want, but that just was not a thing in my timeline. It just wasn't. The more I read, the more I just was like, no, that sounds ridiculous, guys. I mean, one part of my brain sees how they're trying to spin it, that it could be logical, but it just didn't happen. I'm sorry. It just goes to show that the Mandela can justify anything. I mean, it's like the ultimate salesman lawyer, that it could come up for a storyline for no matter how ridiculous something is. The Mandela's got some kind of story like, oh no, it's all totally logical, and here is why. You'll never be a better salesman lawyer than the Mandela. Yeah, you just gotta laugh, you guys. You just gotta laugh. I really just feel like it's a big troll. They also rode motorized rainbow bicycles. Um, I don't really remember that rainbow thing being a thing like in the 80s or 90s as being the symbol. I don't know when they officially took on the rainbow as a symbol, but I didn't hear of it until the last maybe 15 years. So before, rainbow kids were just like, it was just kind of a like a hippie thing. It wasn't a gay thing. Yeah, see, I agree. It doesn't. I don't really think that it's like. I really feel like I really don't care what other people want to do with their own lives, but it just didn't happen, and that's why it's ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's the complete opposite. And if they wanted to say some of that happened like in secret, well, I don't know, maybe. But no, they're saying that it was this big thing that they did in public on purpose. Immediately, whenever a camera came out, I'm like, no, nope, nope, nope. Okay, yeah. The rainbow thing was recent for me. So when I saw it on Reddit, there was all these other there was all these other photos of it and stuff. So I don't know, they had a lot of evidence of it. Anyway, I think that's it. Wait, I'm way back there now. South Park made an episode of Hell's Kissing. Yeah, actually, I do kind of remember that one. I don't watch all of them, but so they were saying it was like the in the 90s the only big rainbow is Rainbow Bright. Yep. Angels Don't Fall is regretting the nickname now. Did Hunter Thompson make up adrenochrome? Nope, adrenochrome now, like I said last week, it's a real molecule. It has a molecular structure. It's in Wiki, and it is the breakdown product of epinephrine, which I do think is a total Mandela. But did you cover barrage balloons? No, I don't think so. What is a barrage balloon? Barrage balloon. Oops, spell it right. A large uncrewed tethered kite balloon used to defend ground targets against aircraft attack by raising aloft steel cables, which pose a severe collision risk to aircraft, making the attackers' approach more difficult. Huh, no, I've never heard of those. So, it just dangles a bunch of, it just dangles a cable then. So if you put one of these up, they couldn't go right under the balloon. I wonder what would stop them from just shooting the balloon, and then the balloon would cave, and then they could shoot you. I think that's what I would try to do. Okay, so say they had a gajillion of these. I mean, how many could you have? I just shoot them. And if there's other people, like, say, in ships nearby, wouldn't they just shoot those from the ship? Okay, so you've got all these ships and you've got barrage balloons. What's stopping all these? Okay, so let's say, all right, aircraft come from a large distance, so they're not able to shoot it from there. They come up. There's some of these balloons. I think you just shoot them first. So maybe their aim wasn't good and they couldn't hit them. I think it could help a little bit, maybe. Despite their achievements, the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion is largely absent from the D-Day story. Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah, so this is supposed to be used on D-Day, but there was never any of these in any of the movies, the video, anything. Tyson was America's first base built for purpose of training soldiers to fly barrage balloons. So they had a whole base to train him to fly a balloon. The Army's newest defensive weapon, piloted by a team on the ground, were destined to hover in large numbers over strategic sites, particularly West Coast defense plants and shipyards. Yeah, I live on the West Coast. I've never freaking heard of this. Creating dangerous obstacles for low-flying enemy aircraft. Similar balloons were already in use over Britain, Germany, Japan, and the Soviet Union. Hundreds floated over above London alone, protecting Big Ben, Whitehall, the Tower Bridge, and other key sites from dive bombers. Each trailed thin cables long enough to shear the wings of an enemy plane. But even without such collisions, the mere presence of barrage balloons was expected to force attacking aircraft to reduce their speed, leading to stalls and even crashes. Britain's tethered blimps also packed a secret and deadly punch. Many were armed with small bombs that could blot planes from the sky. What would set off those bombs, I wonder? It's not that easy to have a bomb like that you could fly that wouldn't go off by mistake, but then would go off right when you hit it. You'd have to hit it right in the right spot on the balloon, it would seem to me. Yeah, I've never heard of this, though. I certainly have not. That's pretty strange. I have friends that are bikers, and they say it never happened. I don't know. I don't know. It didn't happen in my timeline, like I said. But so if I was in the biker gang and and then I'm now, I would say it didn't happen. Did it happen in this timeline? I don't know. They have a lot of photos and stuff of it from even back then. So maybe. I've said before that there's a lot of stuff like that in movies and things that just weren't in my timeline. So yeah, balloons at D-Day, barrage balloons. I don't know. It sounded like they were just tethered. It said they were tethered to the ground. My grandpa never had any pictures of these balloons or evidence nor spoke of them. And he was an E8. So supposedly they protected Big Ben and Whitehall and all these British places. Barry Taylor is really late to the party. Yes, I think I'm almost done. I don't know, lately that right when I get to the end, somebody shows up, so I kind of feel bad, but I think you're going to have to go back and watch it from the beginning. And unfortunately, if you did that right when I leave, it'll only give you the last 2 hours, so you'll still miss the very beginning. But that's okay, because there was like a 15-minute internet outage in the beginning anyway. They are now saving Private. They are now and Saving Private Ryan. So they're in Saving Private Ryan in the movie, I think, as you're saying. Blimps. Yeah, see, they're not blimps because they're unmanned. I think blimps have to be manned, so that just makes them like balloons. Anyways, well, there we go. Barrage balloons. I think it's just like air is easier to float things in this timeline or something. And I'm off. Thank you guys for coming. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.